Voices of the verb. What is the voice of the verb? Voice is the term used to describe whether a verb is active or passive. It tells us whether the subject is the doer or receiver of the action. Active and passive voice. What is active voice? The active voice is the normal voice. This is the voice that we use most of the time. We have the subject, the verb, and the object. The subject is the doer of the action. We use active voice when the doer of the action is specific, and it emphasizes the doer of the action. Let's take a look at some examples. Will you tell me the subject of the sentence? Great! The old king is the subject of the sentence. The old king is the doer of the action ruled, the verb. And the kingdom Bumbaran is the object of the sentence. The object is the person or thing that receives the action. And this sentence is an example of active voice. Another example. Prince Bantugan defeats the enemies. Will you help me to identify the subject of the sentence? Alright. Prince Bantugan is the subject of the sentence, and the doer or performer of the action defeats, the verb. And the object of the sentence is the enemies, the receiver of the action. Now let's discuss the passive voice. If we begin the sentence with the object or person that the action is performed on, we formulate the passive voice. The subject in the passive voice is the receiver of the action. And sometimes we use the passive voice because we don't know or do not want to express who performed the action. Now, if we want to say or write who or what performs the action while using the passive voice, we use the preposition by. Now look what happened to the object of the sentence. The object becomes the subject of the sentence, and the subject becomes the object. However, the subject is no longer performing the action of the verb. Rather, it's being acted upon by the verb. The subject of a sentence in the passive voice is no longer the doer of the action, but the recipient of the action. So again, the object becomes the subject of the sentence. And the subject is no longer performing the action of the verb, or no longer the doer of the action, but the recipient of the action. Since we want to say who performs the action while using the passive voice, we use the preposition by. The structure of active and passive voice. Active voice, subject, then verb and object. Passive voice, object, verb, and subject.